Hello, I'm Tyler Small, and I'm going to be showing you today some labor market data and strategic insights that I've created for. This is a summary actually of 11 different departments, academic departments that have hired me to do this research for them. And I'm just going to take some of the abstract themes that I've discovered and share them with you today. So let's get started. AI is both the problem and the solution. It's disrupting a lot of things, and yet it can be used to help us solve these problems. You've probably heard this before. AI won't take your job. A human with AI will. And I want to just add to that and say, be that human. And hopefully, in this experience that we have together today, you can develop the courage and the know-how of how to get ahead of AI and keep ahead of as much as you can. So, another quote I'd like to share by Richard Susskind, who's studied technology innovation for many decades. He says, saving humanity with and from AI is the defining challenge of our age. So, just to kind of show you the process, how the sausage was made, the process that I followed at these 11 different departments was to collect data, to do a task analysis of all the jobs that were available in the field, and then of the tasks that they were asking for skills in, and then how AI was disrupting those specific tasks, and then to look at whether the risk was high, medium, or low. Then we characterized feasible scenarios. So we looked at, if these things continue the way they are now, like the trajectory that's currently existing, if things slow down or something completely unexpected. So we looked at different economic scenarios and then offered strategic insights to proceed. And this is mostly based on a little bit of the data collection and then the strategic insights that we gathered across those 11 departments. So let's get started. This is an example of job market shifting. So we've got media and communications job postings on Indeed in the United States. And as you look at this graph, we're looking at an index of the number of jobs, starting with the very beginning of the pandemic. And this gray area here represents the pandemic. And if we kind of follow that starting point along just to see the relative differences, that's in the middle. And then what happens is when we have a market decline, when it declines a little bit, typically those entry level jobs are the first to go. Not all of them will go during the first little bit, but those are the most vulnerable to shrinkage in the industry, to that economic decline, or the total number of decreases of jobs, or the relative number of decrease of jobs in this case. So we had the pandemic shutdown, things declined. We had the pandemic digital boom, and people thought, oh, wow, everything has got to be online. This is great. There was some overhiring that occurred here. And then the pandemic ended and the boom resolved. Something else strange happened. ChatGPT was released, and it kept going down all the way to 35 points below pre-pandemic levels, and that seems to be where it is stabilizing now. Um, it's not bouncing back up. You might expect that over 2.5 years that it would bounce back up, but it hasn't. So where does this leave people who are seeking entry level work? This leaves them with quite a gap, much more bodies per position at this point. And so this is the type of story that we need to be paying attention to and looking for across industries, because we're seeing this happen in many industries. And I'm not going to go through them all in this presentation. Reach out if you're curious about a specific industry, and I'd be happy to dive into that with you. But what we're seeing is that there are industries that are more exposed now and industries that are beginning to be exposed, and we're seeing those signs occur that this will likely move through all industries. So let's look at AI adoption across compared to other revolutionary technologies. This is at work, this is outside of work. And so if we look at just at work for a moment here, we can see that there's the PC, the smartphone, the internet, even cloud computing. And then if we look at generative AI and the way that it is being adopted, it's actually much steeper than these other technologies. And there's a lot of nuance here, but the basic idea is that, wow, this is happening fast. So, from the same source, this is from the Wharton research. These are a list of jobs, a list of occupational categories where, and then is listed the exposure to AI automation by the percentage of tasks of those occupations. And it is quite high for many of these. Um, and a lot of these are things that occupations that people they want to get a college education, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and they want to move into that industry. And this is a rough story. There's a lot of automation here. Now, if you can get ahead of it and learn how to use the AI to your advantage, then you may be in a much safer spot. You may be able to compete well for those advanced jobs. But that is the mandate at this point. You can see another from the same research here by Alexander Arnon at Wharton. And what we're seeing here on the y axis is occupational exposure to AI by percent. And the occupational wage percentile, and I've added these red lines and the black price tags here to show this inside of this pink box that I've also added. These are where most of the college graduates are looking for jobs. And this is also where the highest exposure to AI is. Now, something to note here is that 3 years ago, if we asked the question, and this all of this research is about generative AI specifically, if we said in the beginning of 2023, what is the exposure of these occupations to generative AI, we would have said, "Oh, it's down here on the floor." Like, we don't know what generative AI is. It's very dumb. It's stupid. It can't do anything. That's what we all would have probably said, including the researchers who are evaluating these technologies. But now we see that just in the period of 3 years, there's all this immense automation going on, and in 3 more years, it's likely to go up even further. So please don't make the mistake that I see people often making when they kind of start to understand AI and they say, "Oh, this is what AI is." And they kind of draw a line and they think that's what it is and that's what it's going to be. It's going to stay. And that's just a big mistake that I want to prevent you from making so that you can understand these dots are moving up. They're on their way up to the top. And every major technology company that's doing frontier AI model work, they are striving to lift those dots. So, what does that mean? What does this mean for students? Well, there's two big dangers to consider. The first one is entry level tasks and jobs are being automated. So that's just a fact. You know, I heard people saying it, like Gardner, for example, this big leader at Gardner, he says, "Oh, well, no one's going to lose their job over this. This isn't, you heard like, oh, think of it as task based, not job based, and which is technically accurate, but again, you saw it. We are seeing a massive decrease in jobs in some industries, and that's just an indicator of what will eventually happen, probably with all industries at some point. So, if we look at the visual here, and I apologize, I'm covering up the little man over here, the little person, um, to represent the junior professional here. And these are jobs. There's specific pay ranges. There's specific amount of complexity and quality that's assumed at these levels. They're very well defined by compensation analysts and HR departments, and so these are very specific jobs. Um, Very specific amount of money that you can earn and so on. And then with more expertise, these are the professional jobs, and then above that are the senior professional jobs. So if we picture this kind of like a staircase, you would climb up, onto this one, and then if you want a promotion, you would climb up onto this one, and you'd climb up and so on. Now, but over here, if the entry level jobs are being automated, then the Gen AI, it makes it so there's no step here, right? So if you were trying to step into here, it just doesn't work. There's nowhere to step. The professionals are using generative AI to do this work. And so in a lot of these industries, there's not a large number of entry level jobs because the amount that it costs to pay AI to do this work it's so small. And so you might, some people might say, "Oh, entry level jobs aren't really going anywhere. Like there's still going to be jobs. Like they'll just shift or change." And in many industries, though, that is just false. It's not objectively accurate to say that those entry level jobs will just shift or change. It's the truth is rather that the work will be up here in the professional and senior professional roles where it hasn't not yet been automated. And so if the students use AI to do their thinking for them and they don't actually learn these foundational principles and the strategies and how the layout of the field, then they will actually be less capable than their previous graduates over here that might have been this tall in my little picture here, um, even less capable of doing this professional level work of climbing up these stairs, having further to climb and being less capable to do it. So here's one way of looking at the four really big mid to long term threats to entry level work. And I say mid to long term, it's is already, I mean, if we look at coding capabilities, if you're a software engineer, just graduated, 0 years of experience looking for work, if you graduated from MIT, good for you, you've got a job. If you graduated from the bottom half of universities, or maybe the bottom 75 or 80% of universities, you're probably not going to find work very easily. I've talked to a lot of people, very intelligent people, people who are highly recommended by professors, who say they're having a hard time finding work. I've talked to a lot of professors who have said, man, my students are having a very hard time finding work, right? So this is like uh, this is a conservative, longest time frame possible. Um, because AI is doing this math and coding capabilities. It's doing the AI API integrations. If you think about AI as becoming more intelligent, that's like what it knows, what it can write and say. API integrations allow it to go and buy things. It allows it to go and build things. Like it allows it to talk to other people for you. And so this makes it more capable. Keyboard and mouse control. This might sound weird, but AI can control the mouse for you and the keyboard, so to speak. Platforms like Comet, Atlas, Manus, they're out there providing these automation tools to where the user can type in, go on the internet and purchase these shoes, or go on the internet and fill out this survey, or whatever the user wants, basically. And there are some websites that find ways of blocking that, but it is able to get through a lot of like paywalls and like credential walls where you have to put in your name and your password, where normal AI wouldn't be able to get through because of the way that it seems more like a human, because it's using like a mouse, a signal from a mouse, to where you can actually watch the mouse rove around on the screen, and you can watch it type into the box and so on. Humanoid robots are another one that I think is sneaking up on a lot of people, so to speak. We're not to the point where they're running around with machine guns just murdering people, luckily, and I don't know if that will happen. Hopefully, that won't happen. But the dexterity of these humanoid robots, after companies just coming into the picture like Cognition with their Figure 3 robot, they've only been around for 2-ish years, and they went from basically zero to a robot that's loading dishes into the dishwasher, serving drinks, putting clothes away, folding laundry, a massive number of tasks on its own. There are some robots that, yes, they're doing a lot, but they're human controlled with basically remote controls. But yet there are also those that are being run autonomously, also working in warehouses, doing various jobs. So um, they're these humanoid robots. They can't do all the jobs right now, but the progress is so rapid. And I made a whole video on this. You can watch it on this channel. The progress of these humanoid robots is insane. So that's something to be aware of if a big part of your job is moving things with your hands. Then it may be good to start familiarizing yourself with the opportunities to work with humanoid robots. Because if you're both psychologically ready and technically ready to do this, then you'll have a lot more opportunity than someone who's not. And so, because the big opportunity for you will be to utilize a group or a fleet or a team of humanoid robots to help you do your work. You can become a manager, or have a lot more of the grunt work, the harder, heavier lifts, or the more monotonous things at first, and building into some of the more complex things. But these four advancements, these four groups of features, are things to watch and things to consider as you look at across industries and say, I wonder what AI will be able to do in 3 to 5 years. These are the big ones. So what does all this mean? How can you get ahead of it? And I know this is a lot to look at, but this is a concept graph that describes a new target for AI upskilling. And the first thing that we need to realize here is that if we look at this is a logarithmic scale. So zero point 0.5 is the speed of Gen AI outputs compared to humans. So zero point 0.5 would be like half as fast as a human. 1x is about as fast as a human does the job. And then 2x, 4x, so it doubles, right? And as it goes up. And if you look at this on the x-axis here is like we were looking at these different levels of work. You can call them job levels or career levels, as they do in compensation analysis. And this is the entry level job here. Basically, work that can be done by typically someone who is a college graduate, that professional, who can start to do this entry level work. Now, what we found was in 2023, by the end of 2023, a lot of these jobs in like content development, technical writing, creative writing, and even some coding in certain languages. This this was a lot of that work was able to be done by AI, and then by the end of 2024, most of this work in some jobs was able to be done by AI, by someone who is in a professional role, for example, using AI to do the entry level stuff. So uh, further on in 2020, uh, sorry, I actually have a window in front of this and I can't see it, but 2025 here, and then in 2 more years, what's going to happen? Will this trend continue? Well, it likely will. Like if we've made it to here and then to here again in 2025, likely it'll continue. So this is again conceptual, but in 2027 it may be that yes, not only does AI do the work faster, but it can also do more complex work, work that's more messy, that requires more context, more capabilities. And by 2027, it's likely that a lot of these jobs that where some of it is being done now, and we call this when some of the job can be done by the human, and it's like, hey, my job's easier now. That's called augmentation. So in 2023, the entry level, the junior professional was saying, wow, AI is great. It is augmenting my job. AI is for augmentation. That is great. And then in 2025, they said, oh, hey, wait a minute. This is replacing my whole job. This isn't fun anymore. Hopefully they got the promotion before then, right? Um, but they say, oh no, this is replacement. It's replacing my job. Okay. So 2025, the person says, Oh, AI is great. It is augmenting my job. 2027, it might be that the senior professional picks up that little bit and they no longer have these job openings. And the senior professional says, oh, AI is augmenting my job. This is great. And the professional says, this isn't augmentation. This is replacement. So you might have heard about augmentation versus replacement. And again, like you've heard people saying, "Oh, like don't worry about your job. Like AI is here to help you. It won't take anyone's job." That's not necessarily true. So, the safe place though, the safe place is to get out way ahead of it and say, "How can I use AI to do the work maybe 3 times higher quality and 10 times more productive?" And to get ahead of the curve, be the human with AI. And that's the most important message I have for you today is to get into this safe zone. Don't assume that you're safe um, doing things twice as fast or being a little bit more complex in your analysis. Assume that you need to be way more advanced. And if you can get into this box here and then keep moving, you will be safe. And these would be the only safe places. Why would a company hire someone to do work if AI can do it much faster and cheaper and better? There is no reason. So we have the opportunity now to start building our educational programs, our training programs, and our expectations for organizational leadership to put humans in this safe target box of 30x now.